This is $1,000, and it's exactly how much 100,000 Chase points are worth when redeemed for cash back, which isn't too bad. But using those same points for travel could be getting you at least double that value or even more when you know how to maximize your credit card points the right way. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through a few really good examples of how to redeem your Chase points like a pro by doing stuff like turning 100,000 points into a 5-night tropical resort stay worth over $2,500. We'll also go over an example of how you and a partner can each combine 100,000 points to get a nearly $5,000 Hawaiian vacation. And even if you have less points, I'm still going to show you how to fly in lay flat seats to Switzerland for 70,000 points, how to take advantage of a sweet spot business class redemption to Spain for around 40,000 points, and how to fly from New York to London for under 10,000 points using Virgin Atlantic for this first example here. And also thank you to Rocket Money for sponsoring today's video, but more on them later. Now, what's so great about Virgin is that not only do they have super cheap pricing for economy, premium economy, and upper business class seating, but they also have a really nice free reward search tool that makes finding points deals super easy for anyone to do. All you got to do is head over to the Virgin Reward Seat Checker that you can do a quick Google search to find, and then over there we're going to select New York JFK as the departure and London Heathrow as the destination. We're also going to search in October for this example, and when we click on Find Reward Seats, we're going to see a whole calendar view of the lowest reward pricing on each day. And like I said, you're going to find great deals for each fare class. However, since we're on a budget of 10,000 points here, what we're going to do is we're going to look into the days where economy is available for only 6,000 points one way, like we can see here on October 9th. And then we'll go ahead and click on Find My Reward Seats at the bottom. That's going to bring up a search page where you can go ahead and log into your Virgin Atlantic account, which is free to create if you don't already have one. And then we're just going to go and look up the same October 9th date that we saw from that calendar. So right here within these results, we're able to confirm that there is an economy seat that's available for only 6,000 points plus $76 in taxes and fees. And that's honestly already a steal here. But if there's ever any transfer bonuses going on from Chase or any other transferable bank points currency like Amex, Capital One, Citi, or Bilt, which also transfers to Virgin, then this price could be even lower than 6,000 points. Now, Virgin recently moved to a dynamic pricing model on reward seats bookable with points, so the pricing here is going to vary based on factors like demand and seasonality. But compared to pricing on a lot of other European airlines, economy pricing like this on Virgin is still incredibly hard to beat. So this is always going to be a good option for travel over to Europe or within Europe, especially if you have to book tickets for multiple people using points. Now, the last step before we actually transfer any of our Chase points to book this is we want to make sure we're getting a good deal. And to do that, we want to calculate what's called the cent per point value by also seeing what the cash price on the same ticket would be. So running the same search over on Virgin's website, they're selling classic economy tickets for $374, which we'll use in the cent per point calculation. And then we'll just take $374 as the cash price and subtract the taxes and fees of $76 on the reward seat. And then we just divide all that by 6,000 points required to book this. The reason why we need to do the cash price minus the taxes and fees from the reward pricing in the numerator of this equation is just because in both these methods for booking this, we're going to have to be paying some cash out of pocket no matter what. So the difference between these two numbers is going to be the amount of cash that we're actually saving here in this example. But anyway, that's going to give us a value of 4.97 cents per point, which is honestly insanely good considering this is an economy redemption all the way over to Europe. And just as a reference, Chase would charge us nearly 30,000 points if we tried booking this exact same flight through their portal with a card like the Sapphire Preferred. So even though we have to pay a small amount in taxes and fees, we're still saving 80% on the points price by transferring here. And the same thing is honestly going to be true for the rest of the examples here in this video, where transferring points is going to be significantly cheaper than booking in a travel portal. Also, for anyone who's a beginner with this points and miles stuff, getting 1 cent per point is sort of the baseline value for Chase points when redeeming for cash back. But when we find anything that's around at least 2 cents per point or higher when transferring, that's generally when it's considered a good deal and a good use of points. Now, that was a great economy flight redemption. But with this next example here, I want to go over how to fly from Chicago to Madrid in business class for super cheap, around just over 40,000 points by taking advantage of a sweet spot redemption. So to make this work, we're going to be looking for business class award availability directly on Iberia's website during what they classify as off-peak dates. And the reason for that is because this Chicago to Madrid Iberia flight only cost 40,500 avios or points during off-peak times when booking through Iberia. Now, to be honest, as I was writing the script for this video, this deal was even cheaper at only 34,000 avios, which has always been a sweet spot for years in the whole points and miles world. But literally overnight, right before I was going to film this video today, Iberia devalued this redemption and increased pricing up to 40,500 avios for this route. So just another example here of why it's always important to make sure you're using your points, because devaluations are always happening. Now, technically the pricing of 40,500 avios for off-peak business class on Iberia is supposed to be only for East Coast cities like New York and Boston to Madrid, but Iberia prices this route from Chicago to Madrid the same as those East Coast cities. So we're going to go ahead and take advantage of that pricing for this video, just because even after this devaluation, paying a little bit over 40,000 Avios or points is still going to be a great deal. Now, Iberia's website either is not loading their 2026 peak versus off-peak calendar right now, or they may have just stopped publishing it altogether. But this calendar that I found online shows us what 2025's dates were to sort of give us an estimate of what's considered as off-peak dates in white here, where we might find the best deals. So because I'm filming this video in May of 2025 and Iberia releases availability on their website up to 360 days in advance, I'm going to go ahead and do a search over on Iberia.com, and I'm going to search from Chicago to Madrid for one way while also checking the box to pay with Avios. I'm also going to search for May 19th to get this started, but because I'm flexible, which is going to be super important here, I can go ahead and select my dates are flexible, which is then going to allow me to sort of flip through the days that I can fly depending on availability. And I'll go ahead after that and click on the search button. Now, fortunately, I found that 40,500 Avios off-peak availability right from the start here, which is great. But if I did not find anything, then again, I can just easily flip through the different dates at the top here, which makes this super easy to search around. You can actually see that just a few days before this, there was also award availability for Sunday, May 17th, but this must have been a peak travel date according to Iberia's internal calendar, because we're seeing pricing for 59,000 Avios here. So after we click back over to the May 19th flight for 40,500 Avios, we're gonna see that Iberia does also charge just a few dollars in taxes and fees, which comes out to be $135.50, but that's going to be pretty much nothing compared to the full cash price that we'd have to pay without redeeming Avios, and that would be $3,438 here for business class. Doing some quick math on that, $3,438 for the cash price minus $135.50 for the taxes and fees on the award ticket, divided by 40,500 points needed to book this, that comes out to be 8.15 cents per point, which is another great deal. Now, you would have to transfer 41,000 points from Chase to Iberia to book this, because technically you do have to transfer in 1,000 point increments, but paying just over $100 out of pocket for a flight in business class like this is going to be huge, because spending so little on your flight is going to open up a ton of room in your travel budget, and that allows you to spend more on food and experiences instead when you're out visiting new places. I'm honestly always looking for ways to cut back on expenses just like that, which is why I love using points and miles as a tool to save money. And another tool that I love using to help with this as well is going to be Rocket Money, who's the sponsor for this video. Rocket Money is the app you need to save more and manage your money better, whether that's canceling any unwanted subscriptions, creating a custom budget, or tracking your spending across a number of different credit cards like I do. What I really love about Rocket Money is that with over 20 plus credit cards in my binder here, I'm able to just track all my spending with those cards in one single place, which makes analyzing my spending so much easier nowadays. So before Rocket Money, as I was doing any budgeting, what I'd have to do is I would log into a bunch of different accounts one after another, which was always really annoying and it just took forever to do. With Rocket Money, I've also been able to identify and then cancel subscriptions right within their app with just a couple of taps. So if you hate wasting money on stuff that you forgot you were paying for, then this could be a really awesome feature that I like to tell people about. So to save more and spend less, join the over 5 million members using Rocket Money today by going to rocketmoney.com/Daniel Braun, or check the link down below in the description to get started for free. That's rocketmoney.com/Daniel Braun, or check out the link in the description. And thank you again to Rocket Money for sponsoring today's video. Now, next here, we're going to jump up a level to redeeming 70,000 Chase Ultimate Rewards points. And for this one, we're going to take a trip to Switzerland with Swiss Air Business Class by taking advantage of an airline alliance partnership. So for this route, we're going to be looking to fly from Washington Dulles Airport to Zurich, Switzerland, and we're going to have to find award availability to start here. So I'm going to go ahead and use a tool called Seats.Aero that I really like for saving time during this whole search process. So over here on their website, I'm going to enter IAD for Washington Dulles as the origin and ZRH for Zurich as the destination. And I'm going to be flexible on my dates. So using Seats.Aero Pro, I'm just going to search for the middle of August for plus or minus 14 days. Now, when I click on search and then sort the results for the cheapest nonstop business class prices in green, I'm seeing several dates of availability with Air Canada's Aeroplan program. So I'm going to go ahead and select the one on August 9th by just clicking on the little information icon on the right. Now on the screen, I can see that there should be a direct flight in business class that's on Swiss Air because their logo is being used here. And this is going for 70,000 Air Canada Aeroplan points, which I can transfer to from Chase, plus around $78 Canadian, which is around $56 US. But obviously, before I transfer any points, first I got to confirm this is actually available in points over on Air Canada's website. And then I also want to double check the cash price, so that way I know whether or not this is going to be a good cent per point value to make this a good use of my points. Now, doing a point search through Air Canada for the same exact August 9th date is going to show this flight actually is available with plenty of award seats for 70,000 Airplan points, plus a small amount for taxes and fees, which is great. And then if we also do a search for the cash price on the Swiss Air website, we could see this flight would normally cost $6,001 if we did not use points. To find the cent per point value on that, we'll just take the cash price minus the roughly $56 in taxes and in fees from the award ticket. And then we'll divide all that by the 70,000 Air Canada Aeroplan points that we can transfer from Chase, and that gives us around 8.49 cents per point in value, which is another amazing deal. Now, this flight is on an Airbus A330, and these business class seats on this flight are definitely not as high end as some of the other European airlines, but still, for a lay flat seat that's flying nonstop over to Switzerland, that's not a bad way to start a trip to such a cool country that's got a ton of things to see. All right, so we've talked about a few flight redemptions at different price points so far. But what about hotel stays? Because Chase has access to, in my opinion, the best hotel transfer partner, which is Hyatt. So next here, let's go ahead and talk about optimizing 100,000 Chase points with some Hyatt resorts in popular places like Puerto Rico and Hawaii. Now, part of the reason why Hyatt is going to be so valuable as a transfer partner is because they use a fixed award chart to determine how many points each hotel is going to cost per night, versus some other hotel programs out there who use more of a dynamic pricing model, which causes points prices to go up and down based on demand and other factors. So this is Hyatt's award chart right here. And if we have 100,000 points to work with for this example, then one of the sweet spots that I would look at is spending 5 nights at a category 5 property, because those are going to go for 20,000 points per night for standard pricing. Now, one of my favorite properties in this range that I've been to, and I think is definitely underrated as a category 5, is the Hyatt Regency Grand Reserve Puerto Rico. So let's say that we wanted to go there for a nice 5-night stay in the middle of May next year. All I would do is I would run a search for the nights that I wanted to stay there, while also making sure to check this box here that says use points. And then on the results page, if I see rooms that are showing up for standard room free nights while this use points button is on, then that's going to mean there is award availability on those dates. Now, if I did not see any award nights show up, then I would get a message like this that says there's no available rooms, or that this hotel is not accepting World of Hyatt points or awards during those dates. And then I would just go out there and run another search again using different dates. But because I did see availability from May 14th to May 19th, the next step here is going to be to confirm exactly how many points I would need to transfer from Chase to book this. And to do that, you just want to go to the top of the results page for this hotel and click on where it says points calendar. Doing that is going to bring up this page for whatever Hyatt property you're looking at, which confirms that this is a category 5 property at the top. But more importantly, it tells us how many points each night is going to cost, because most nights are 20,000 points like the ones we selected, but sometimes it can be slightly more during peak dates. Next, we want to go ahead and check the cash price of this hotel stay during those dates as well, just to make sure this is a good deal for cent per point value. And when we ran another search, we found that those dates would normally cost $2,570 after taxes and fees. Now, the cool thing with Hyatt is that award stays when booking with points come with 0 taxes and fees, which makes calculating cents per point super easy. So we would just take $2,570 for the cash price divided by 100,000 points in total that we need for 5 nights at 20,000 points each. And that gives us 2.57 cents per point in value, which is another good deal. Now, if you're looking for something over in Hawaii instead, then there's going to be a ton of great resorts to choose from, even though they can be a bit more expensive in terms of both the cash price and the points price. But here's what I would do. So I recently stayed at the Grand Hyatt Kauai, which is a massive Hawaiian resort that's one of the best on that island. And if you have 100,000 Chase points saved up, then you're going to be able to fully cover 2 nights here, because this is now a category 8 property, which goes for around 40,000 points per night. Now, 2 nights might not feel like enough, so to stretch this into a 5-night stay as well, what I would recommend here, if possible, is combining your 100,000 Chase points with 100,000 Chase points from a partner to have at least 200,000 points at your disposal, and then that would be able to get you 5 nights at 40,000 points per night. Chances are that you might be traveling with someone like your husband or your wife when you want to stay at a resort hotel like this anyway. And one of the best hidden tricks that I really love about Chase points is that you can just call up Chase and then have them give you access to combine your ultimate rewards points with a spouse or another member of the same household. Once you do that, then you're going to be able to move all 200,000 points in this example to one Chase Sapphire account, which you could then transfer to one Hyatt account to book the Grand Hyatt Kauai. So if I ran that same search for 5 nights from May 14th to May 19th of next year, I could see there's going to be availability during those dates over here as well. And the points calendar for this hotel is showing that it would be exactly 40,000 points per night for 200,000 points in total. The cash price for that same exact stay would be just over $4,801. So doing the math on that, 4801 divided by 200,000 points to book this, that would be a value of 2.40 cents per point. And that's going to be another good deal that makes this resort a great use of Chase points if you're able to, again, sort of combine points with a partner for maybe part of your honeymoon or something like that, because that's actually exactly what my wife and I did last year when we stayed here for part of our honeymoon, and we love this place. Now, my wife and I have been playing the 2-player credit card game and kind of combining points like this for years now. So if you want to learn more about our full strategy for how we turn our credit card points into tens of thousands of dollars worth of travel every single year, then make sure to go ahead and check out this video over here on the screen next. But as always, thanks so much for watching.